Hey, what's up guys, Red Bishop here, and it's time for another video review, this time around for LA Cops, which is developed by Modern Dream and published actually by Team 17. They've been kind of on a big publishing roll lately, and they've been publishing some pretty decent games, and LA Cops I feel like is another one of those. In case you're not familiar with LA Cops, it is basically an isometric shooter, so people have made the comparison that it's kind of similar to looks and style to a Hotline Miami. And although I can understand that, it is definitely different. It is probably about as difficult as Hotline Miami is, but it's not as over the top or kind of vulgar as that type of game. And yeah, so it's an isometric shooter. You move around with the left stick, you use the right stick to aim, and before you go into certain rooms, and you'll see it here, the reticle itself will kind of sometimes just move to an enemy. That's when I'm hitting the X button, and when I do that, it moves to an enemy, so that way when I go into a room, I don't have to worry about free aiming anymore. It kind of auto aims for me. And that's on the normal and hardcore difficulties. You'll see an option for nightmare difficulty, which is the hardest, and when you do that, there is no auto aim. You cannot hit the X button before going into a room. You are stuck with free aim. And so it kind of adds, some difficulty to it. And on top of that, like the normal mode itself, when you get to the later levels, there are a total of 8 campaign missions. There are several side missions in there as well. When you get to those later missions, even with the auto aim and even with you playing on normal difficulty, it gets difficult. It's not an easy game to kind of pick up and play. Like they kind of start you out relatively easily, but as you progress through the game, it ramps up in difficulty, and you kind of need to use what they have. Is they have these upgrades for your cops, so you get to choose different cops when you go into different missions, and you kind of want to make sure you spec them out for the right class. So when you go in there, you kind of want to make sure your health and your damage is up as much as you can, because you take 2 or 3 shots in some of these levels and you're dead. And when you lose both of your cops, the mission is over. Now, you see as well that there are 2 cops in every mission you go into. There is no co-op. It is just you and the single player. And when you hit the A button, you basically tell your cop buddy, hey, your partner, come here, come to this spot. And so you have to basically keep doing that throughout the game. And that can become a little tedious, because there are times when you feel like, oh, it would be great if your partner could simply follow you around, or if you could play this in co-op and kind of have it. But at the same time, playing it in co-op might be a little hard to do, because your health is so low as it is. Even when you get max upgrades, sometimes your health, you can still take 5 or 6 shots now instead of 2 or 3, but you can still die relatively easily. So maybe doing it in co-op might not be the best route, but I feel like at least maybe it would be an AI partner instead of you just having to hit the A button to move him. At least he would move on his own. Kind of the last few things I'll touch on, as I said, you move the right stick to aim your shot, left stick to move a character, right trigger to shoot, and stuff like that. If you're playing on normal, and you can do this on any difficulty, but obviously it's easier to do it on the normal setting, you can hit left trigger when you're behind an enemy, and that basically what that'll do is that will arrest the enemy. So instead of killing them, you actually can arrest them, and you get more points for doing that. So at the end of each mission, it tallies up your points, how much damage you took, how many people you killed, how many enemies you killed, how many enemies you arrested, how much damage you did to the environment. Some of the environments will take damage. So when you first start out at the diner, you can tear up those booths, you can tear up those refrigerators and ovens and stuff like that, and they tally that up, and you get a rating, overall rating. You get a score that goes to the leaderboard. You can compare with friends and stuff like that, and that's how you get your upgrade points. You get the upgrade points by based off your score and your rating from each level. And like I said, you upgrade health, upgrade your damage for your gun, you upgrade your clip size, you upgrade the speed in the movement of your actual character. So there's a little bit of nuance to it. It's not just you going in there and just guns blazing, shooting. They kind of add a little bit of different elements to it. And overall, I feel like it's a fun game. I feel like they do a good job with the difficulty. It's not just a straight up shot up to hard difficulty. They do a good job of ramping it up a little bit to kind of get you familiar with the controls and the gameplay style. And also when you're playing, the camera is kind of at one setting, but if you hit left bumper and right bumper, it will kind of rotate it. And that's a huge factor when you're on a certain spot of the map and you're like, well, I don't know if there's anybody in this room. So you can kind of hit left bumper to rotate the camera, and it gives you a better idea of who's in that next room, how many enemies are in that next room, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a ton of fun. I feel like it's worth the $11-12 that they're asking for. I feel like there's only 8 campaign missions, but I feel like there's enough side missions and enough content in here to keep people entertained and to enjoy it. And especially when the Xbox console doesn't have a game similar to Hotline Miami, this can kind of fill that gap that the console might be missing for people who don't own a PlayStation or anything. So yeah, if you're thinking of picking it up, I highly suggest it. It is out this Friday, the 13th, I believe. So yeah, pick that up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have a good one.